Hello class, this is Manuel, and today we're going to talk about frequency adverbs and other expressions in English that we use to describe how often we do something. And that's it. So let's see what this is all about. Well, we divided this topic uh, between adverbs on the one hand and other expressions on the other hand, and that has to do with the position of those words in the sentence. Now, normally, what we do is that we place a frequency adverb right after the subject, and that's it. That's the only rule we need to remember for now. Um, so here we have on the second column, we have a bunch of adverbs. Those are probably the most common frequency adverbs we have in English. And on the first column, you see some percentages. Those are to indicate how often we do an activity depending on the adverb. So, for example, the first word starting from the bottom is never, and that's 0%. Because if you never do something, it means that you don't do it at all. And that's it. On the other hand, right on the top, we have always with 100%, and that's because if you always do something, it means that you do it all the time, and that's it. And so those percentages give you a pretty good idea as to how often you do a particular action if you are using that adverb, right? And remember, the position that you will normally see those adverbs in a sentence is in the middle, right after the verb. Now, on the other hand, we have other expressions of frequency. Again, I made a division, and first we have expressions that begin with the word every. Things like every day, week, month, year. Obviously, there are others. You can pretty much any time division. You can use it like every hour, every second, every minute, every decade, or anything you can think of. On the other hand, we have expressions that indicate what in Spanish we call ves or veces. Dos veces, tres veces, that type of thing. So we have una vez, that would be once, dos veces, twice. And beginning with three, with tres veces, cuatro veces, we have the word times. We actually have the word times, meaning veces. So tres veces, that's three times. Cuatro veces, that's four times, and so on and so forth. And obviously, you can combine it, combine those with words like day, month, a week, or a year. So you end up getting things like once a day, twice a week, three times a month, four times a year, five times a decade, and so on and so forth. Right? And that's basically it. And normally these types of expressions appear at the end of the sentence. Uh, you can put them at the beginning, and that would be normal. Put them in the middle would be if you put them in the middle, you really know how to. You really need to know what you're doing, because that's not always gonna work. But if you choose to leave them to the end of the sentence, well, you should be safe, and there should be no problem for you. And that's basically it. And I hope you remember those rules I talked about. One was that you, with frequency adverbs, you put them in the middle of the sentence after the verb, after the subject, and the other one is the one I just explained, where with these expressions of frequency, you put them at the end of the sentence. And that's it. And as usual, we're gonna have some practice. So here we have a bunch of scrambled words, and what we have to do is obviously to stop the video and figure out a way to unscramble those words to make accurate sentences. So I'm going to invite you to pause the video and think about how would you unscramble each sentence or each line to make a coherent sentence. You ready? Alright, so hopefully you pause the video, you try to solve the exercise, and you now have something like this. First was an expression of frequency, like twice a week. It was at the end. It goes at the end. Then we have a frequency adverb right after the subject. She usually wakes up early. Again, time expression twice a year at the end of the sentence. Often is a frequency adverb right after the verb, after the subject. Sorry, I keep saying verb instead of subject. Then we have always, which appears after the verb to be. That's because it's verb to be, but again, it's after the subject, it's in the middle of the sentence. Hardly ever is a frequency adverb right after the subject. Once a week and every Wednesday are time expressions at the end of the sentence. Finally, sometimes and usually are frequency adverbs, and they appear in the middle of the sentence right after the subject. And that's it, class. This is a rather easy topic, more than grammar. It's a vocabulary topic. Hopefully you have no problem with it, and you can incorporate it into the things that you say or that you write in English all the time. So I hope you got something out of this video, and well, bye. Take care.